Every word she spoke was a dagger, but I held a secret they could never comprehend. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. I sat at that long, polished table, surrounded by the smiling faces of 52 family members. My mother stood, her champagne glass shimmering under the chandelier. Her smile was sickly sweet as she gazed at my sister, Amanda. "This," she announced, her voice ringing with pride, "is the daughter who always loves her family." The room filled with murmurs of agreement. Then, her smile tightened and she turned, her finger pointing directly at me. The cheerful chatter died instantly, replaced by a suffocating silence. "She's never helped with anything." A collective gasp rippled through the room. My aunts clutched their pearls, their mouths forming little O's of shock. I saw my cousins duck their heads, staring at their laps. My fists clenched under the table, my nails digging so deep into my palms that I was sure they'd drawn blood. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream or defend myself. I simply rose from my chair, pushed it in neatly, and walked out of the room. Behind me, the whispers erupted. "My name is Olivia, and I'm 30 years old. If you saw me walking down the street, you would never guess the weight I've carried. I was the first in my family to graduate from college. I spent years clawing my way up in the finance world, sacrificing late nights and holidays to build a stable career. But the one secret that no one at that table knew was that for almost a decade, I was the one keeping them afloat. I had been silently paying my parents' mortgage, covering the mounting medical bills when my mother got sick, and paying the utility bills when my dad lost his job. I even paid for my sister Amanda's entire college education. And through all of it, there was never a single acknowledgement. Not one "thank you" whispered on the phone, not a single grateful card in the mail. Nothing. Amanda was always the golden child, the one they proudly paraded at every family gathering. Her photos lined the walls of their home, while I remained in the shadows, just a name they occasionally mentioned. All I ever dreamed of was a life of my own, free from the crushing weight of their expectations and their constant, unspoken demands. If you've ever felt invisible or taken for granted by the people who are supposed to love you most, take a moment to hit that like button. It means more than you know. The humiliation didn't stop at the dinner table. As I walked out, I heard the whispers following me down the hall. I couldn't escape it. What did they say when I was gone? And what was I going to do about it? My world was about to be turned upside down. Stay tuned for part 2 to find out what happened next. I could still feel the heat of their stares on my back, burning through my dress as I stepped onto the porch. The night air was cool, a sharp contrast to the suffocating atmosphere inside, but it did nothing to calm the fire raging in my chest. Through the window, the glow of the chandelier illuminated the scene I had just left. They were continuing dinner as if nothing had happened. Forks clinked against plates, wine was poured, and laughter floated through the glass. It was as if I had never existed, as if my public humiliation was just a minor hiccup in their perfect evening. My phone buzzed in my clutch. It was my best friend, Melissa. "How's the reunion going?" The screen blurred as tears finally welled up in my eyes. How could I even begin to type the answer? How could I explain that my own mother had just erased 9 years of silent sacrifice with a single, cruel sentence? I didn't answer. I just stared at the glowing screen until it went dark, feeling a loneliness so deep it made my bones ache. That night, I stayed in the guest bedroom at my Aunt Rita's house, but sleep was impossible. The sheets felt scratchy, the room too quiet. Around midnight, thirsty and restless, I crept downstairs for a glass of water. I froze on the bottom step when I heard hushed voices drifting from the kitchen. "Poor Amanda," my mother sighed, the sound heavy with feigned exhaustion. "She's always trying to include Olivia, but that girl is just so selfish." My hand gripped the banister so hard my knuckles turned white. "Selfish?
Me?
Some people just don't understand family," Aunt Rita replied, her voice dripping with sympathy. "Thank goodness Amanda is there for you." I stood in the shadows, paralyzed, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. "Remember when she missed Dad's birthday because of work?" Mom continued, her tone laced with disdain. She couldn't even be bothered to show up for cake. A sob threatened to escape my throat, and I clamped a hand over my mouth. What she didn't know, what she refused to see, was that I had missed that birthday because I was sitting in a sterile office with a financial advisor, figuring out how to pay for Dad's knee surgery the following month without them losing the house. I missed the cake, so they could have the surgery. Useless, Rita muttered. At least you have one good daughter. Have you ever had your kindness mistaken for weakness? Or your hard work dismissed as selfishness? Let me know in the comments below. It helps to know I'm not the only one. I slipped back upstairs, the tears finally spilling over, hot and angry. I buried my face in the pillow to muffle the sound of my weeping. It wasn't just the words. It was the injustice of it all. The next morning, things went from bad to nightmare. My sister had posted a photo on Facebook from the dinner. Some people only show up for the pictures, not for the family, the caption read. So blessed to have parents who recognize true loyalty. Family first. By noon, it had over 150 likes. Comments were piling up, praising Amanda's devotion and my parents' strength. Then, my phone pinged with a text from Dad. Don't embarrass your mother again. Learn from your sister. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at that message. 9 years. 9 years of emptying my savings account when the property taxes came due. 9 years of paying for prescriptions. 9 years of secretly covering Amanda's shopping sprees because Mom and Dad couldn't say no to her. I had built their comfortable lives in silence, brick by brick, check by check. And now they were erasing me in public. But as I stared at that text, something inside me shifted. The sadness began to curdle into something else. Something colder. Something stronger. I wasn't just going to take this anymore. They wanted to talk about money? They wanted to talk about contribution? Fine. I drove to a coffee shop, opened my laptop, and logged into my bank account. My hands were shaking, but this time, it wasn't from sadness. It was from determination. I was about to uncover the truth, dollar by dollar. But I wasn't prepared for the total number I was about to see. What I found on that screen would change everything. You won't believe how much I actually spent. I sat in that coffee shop, my fingers trembling over the trackpad. I wasn't just downloading statements. I was unearthing the ghosts of my sacrifices. I organized them meticulously, every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every tuition installment for Amanda. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with them yet, but seeing it all laid out gave me a strange, vibrating sense of power. Then I calculated the total. The cursor blinked at the bottom of the spreadsheet as the sum appeared. My breath hitched in my throat. I blinked, sure I was seeing things. But the number remained. $187,000. Almost $200,000. I stared at the screen, a tear slipping down my cheek and splashing onto the keyboard. That was my life. That was my freedom. That was the vacations I never took, the nice clothes I never bought, the retirement fund I hadn't started. I had given it all to them. No questions asked. No recognition expected. And in return, I was useless. I wiped the tear away angrily. My hands stopped shaking. A cold resolve settled in my stomach, heavier than lead but sharper than steel. I ordered another black coffee and continued working. What my family didn't know was that despite everything, I hadn't neglected myself completely. I owned a modest condo in the city, paid off ahead of schedule. I had savings, not as much as I should have, but enough. I had built a reputation at work that was bulletproof. They thought I was powerless. They thought I was just the quiet ATM daughter. What they didn't realize was that every sacrifice had created a paper trail stronger than their lies. My silence wasn't weakness. It was preparation. 2 days later, I met Melissa for lunch. She wasn't just my college roommate anymore. She was a corporate lawyer with a reputation for being absolutely ruthless when necessary. They said what? Melissa's eyes widened as I recounted the toast, her fork hovering halfway to her mouth. After everything you've done, I pushed the thick manila folder of bank statements across the table. 9 years, Melissa. Almost 200 grand. She opened the folder, flipping through the pages. Her expression shifted from shock to a deadly seriousness. Olivia, this isn't small. You've essentially bankrolled their entire existence for a decade. And they called me useless, I whispered, my voice cracking. In front of everyone. What do you want to do? She asked, looking me dead in the eye. That was the question, wasn't it? Part of me wanted to storm back into the next family gathering and throw these papers in their faces, screaming until my throat was raw. Another part wanted to simply vanish, to ghost them and let them drown in their own financial incompetence. I don't know, I admitted, looking down at my hands. Melissa closed the folder with a definitive thud. Sometimes the truth doesn't need shouting, Liv. It just needs proof. And timing. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? Would you confront them immediately? Or would you wait for the perfect moment to reveal the truth? Tell me in the comments.
I really needed some advice back then.
That evening, my phone started blowing up again. My sister had created a new group chat. Surprise anniversary party for Mom and Dad. The title read, "Everyone is pitching in." Amanda wrote, followed by a string of heart emojis. It's what family does. We need $500 from each person for the venue deposit by Friday. No one asked me if I could afford it. No one asked if I wanted to be involved. It was just assumed Olivia pays. Olivia always pays. But this time, as I looked at the messages flooding in, I felt a strange calm. For the first time, I saw the situation with crystal clarity. This wasn't about love. It was a transaction. It was about performance. It was about Amanda's desperate need to be the star and my parents' willingness to maintain that fiction, even if it meant bleeding me dry. I didn't reply to the group chat. I let the messages pile up, because I had a different kind of surprise in mind. And trust me, it was going to be one anniversary gift they would never, ever forget. But I never expected how fast things would escalate once I pressed send. Stay tuned for part 4. You won't believe the confrontation that happened next. The group chat was buzzing with excitement about the anniversary party. Photos of decorations, cake options, and enthusiastic "can't wait" messages filled the screen. My sister, Amanda, was orchestrating it all, playing the perfect, devoted daughter. I watched it all unfold, a strange calm settling over me. They were planning a celebration of family unity while I sat alone, holding the receipts of their survival. The next day, my phone rang. My mother's name flashed on the screen. I took a deep breath, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I answered. "How dare you?" she hissed, her voice trembling with rage. "You walked out and embarrassed me in front of everyone. Do you have any idea how humiliation feels? 9 years. 9 years of keeping quiet pressed against my chest. 9 years of nodding and smiling and paying and disappearing. I've paid your mortgage," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, cutting through her anger. "Your bills. Your hospital stays. Amanda's tuition for 4 years. For 9 years, Mom." Silence on the other end. Thick, heavy silence. "What are you talking about?" Her voice had changed. The anger was gone, replaced by uncertainty. "Don't lie to me. Check your email," I said. "And check the family group chat." I had sent it 5 minutes earlier. A single PDF file containing 9 years of bank statements, receipts, and transfer confirmations. Every penny documented. Every sacrifice recorded. I had titled it simply, "The Cost of Being Useless." This is ridiculous," she spluttered, likely scrolling through the file on her tablet as we spoke. "You're trying to make yourself look good. You're trying to ruin our anniversary." "The numbers speak for themselves," I replied. "I'm not asking for anything back. Not even a thank you. I just wanted you to know the truth before you call me useless again." I ended the call. Almost instantly, messages started flooding the family chat. But this time, they weren't about cake or balloons. Shocked emojis from cousins. Questions from uncles. My Aunt Rita sent a private message. I had no idea. "Oh my God, Olivia. I'm so sorry." My sister tried to dismiss it all in the main chat. "Money isn't everything. Some of us give emotional support instead of just throwing cash around to buy love. Stop being so dramatic, Olivia." I typed one final message to the group. "It kept you all alive. Then I silenced my phone and went to bed. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might pass out. Have you ever had to stand up to a bully in your own family? How did you find the courage? Let me know in the comments. I love reading your stories of strength. When I woke up the next morning, I had 38 missed calls. My father, my mother, my sister, aunts, uncles, cousins, all suddenly desperate to talk to the daughter who never helped with anything. I listened to one voicemail from my dad. His voice sounded small, broken. Olivia, we didn't know it was that much. Please call us back. We need to explain. Explain what? Explain why they took my money for a decade without asking where it came from? Explain why they praised Amanda for spending my earnings? There was nothing to explain. The math was simple, even if the emotions were complex. I didn't answer a single call. I didn't reply to a single text. For the first time in my life, I held all the power. And the scariest part? I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to speak to them again. But just when I thought the worst was over, I received a letter in the mail 3 days later. It wasn't an apology. It was something far more shocking, a legal notice. My sister wasn't going down without a fight. Stay tuned for part 5. The finale will leave you speechless. I stared at the paper in my hands, the words swimming before my eyes. A cease and desist regarding defamation of character. My sister, Amanda, wasn't apologizing. She was threatening to sue me for sharing the truth about my own bank accounts with our own family. I called Melissa immediately. Can she actually do this? I asked, my voice trembling not with fear, but with sheer disbelief. Melissa laughed, a sharp, confident sound. For sharing factual bank statements in a private family chat? Absolutely not. It's an intimidation tactic, Liv. She's scared. She knows the gravy train has stopped, and she's panicking. That realization hit me harder than the threat itself. They weren't mourning the loss of me. They were mourning the loss of my wallet. I didn't respond to the legal notice. Instead, I did something I should have done years ago. I changed my number. I blocked them on social media. I took a promotion at work that required me to move to a new city, a beautiful, coastal town 3 hours away. That was 3 months ago. Since then, I've started therapy to unpack years of emotional manipulation. I've gone on actual dates instead of canceling to handle family emergencies. My parents eventually sent a card to my old address, which got forwarded. It wasn't an apology, exactly. Just an acknowledgement. We didn't realize they wrote, as if 9 years of mortgage payments had somehow just slipped their notice. My sister hasn't reached out since the legal threat failed. The strangest thing is the silence. After years of constant demands, guilt trips, and chaos, my phone is quiet. No more emergency calls about overdue bills. No more passive-aggressive texts about family obligations. Just peace. I finally understood my worth. It was never in their approval, but in the life I had built for myself. The strength I found wasn't in the confrontation, but in simply standing in my truth and walking away. Sometimes that's all you need to do. Stop hiding what you've done and who you are. Last week, I received an invitation to my cousin's wedding. At the bottom, a handwritten note from Aunt Rita. We miss you.
Things are different now.
Amanda doesn't come around much anymore since the money stopped. I haven't decided if I'll go. Part of me is curious to see what different looks like. But a bigger part of me knows that some relationships can't be fixed. They can only be understood and then left behind. What I do know is that I'm no longer afraid of their judgment. I'm no longer desperate for their approval. I'm simply Olivia, stronger than they ever knew, and finally free to live without their shadow over me. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. Sometimes the quietest revenge isn't a scream or a lawsuit. It's simply living well, on your own terms, without apology. And let me tell you, freedom tastes sweeter than any family dinner ever could. Thanks for listening.